if you go live, because I set up alerts for, you just, if you follow a YouTube channel
Okay.
and they go live, it tells you.
Well, I think it's going to be coming live any second now. Yeah. So, according to what I have in front of me, there is an excellent connection, and I can see you, although I can't see you moving or anything like that. So, yeah,
Well,
there's,
it's
pro- there's,
still
pro- there's probably a delay here, but I can see you now, and so yeah, I'm quite happy with this. Although it's quite funny because even with OBS, I can see a delay. And I don't know what's going on in this because yeah, maybe this is to do with what you were saying to do with my slow computer, where everything slows down. Roger, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to find the stream. But
Okay,
it's on.
so
Is it on Financial Eyes? Because yesterday it just came up saying we were live when I had the home button open. Oh, there we are live. There we are.
yeah, so it's on
Yes,
Financial Eyes. It's quite funny
yeah,
because you're coming through. I can hear you live, and I can
yeah,
see. Yeah, good.
that's there. That's working. There we are.
Are you happy with the resolution and the sound?
Oh yeah, the resolution's much better than yesterday. It's coming out at 480, which is, that's fine. It's not HD, but it's watchable.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and find
Yeah,
out how to.
it wouldn't be watchable at full screen, but it's certainly watchable in the regular window.
Right. What do you mean it wouldn't be watchable?
Well, it's so many pixels per square inch. So if the picture is resized, yeah,
Yeah.
you lose resolution. So if you watched it on a Palm, a smartphone,
Yeah.
it would be fine. Because the pixels are closer together, sort of thing.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll have to, yeah, aim for the small screen. I mean, obviously, a man like myself with moderate global pretensions is looking for mobile phones in Morocco and China.
Good luck with China, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure which is worse.
There's no way that they'd be able to watch your live stream in China. I mean, I've noticed that about most of my audience stuff. I get hardly anybody from Russia. Hardly anyone. Of course, that's because the filters are all on. Probably on send and receive. They're on both ends.
But hold on a second.
I get hardly
Don't
any.
you
I
live
get
next door to
hardly any
Russia?
audience in Sweden as well. Pardon?
Don't you live next door to Russia?
Uh, well, no. Russia. Well, the Baltic Sea goes up to St. Petersburg, which is Russia, obviously. But uh, Sweden isn't next door to Russia. No, Finland is, and we're next door to Finland.
Right. Okay. But if you wanted to go to Russia, you'd be able to do that in what? An hour?
Oh God, no. I think it would even by plane, it would take about 2 hours to fly. It'd take a little bit longer to fly to St. Petersburg from here than it would to fly to Stockholm, because Stockholm is about 500 miles, and St. Petersburg is probably about, it must be 300 miles east of Stockholm, maybe a bit more.
Okay.
I mean, we went from Stockholm to Helsinki on a ferry. I think it was last Christmas. And you could just keep going and go to St. Petersburg, which I'd love to do because apparently it's absolutely beautiful, St. Petersburg, which did used to be a Swedish city. I mean, back in the when Sweden was an empire, St. Petersburg actually was part of the Swedish Empire.
Yeah, I find that believable. Um, so you're saying that you don't think you have much chance of penetrating the Russian um, market, but surely don't Russia? Because I signed up to it when I had a couple of Russian students. They've got their own version of Facebook, haven't they? I think it's called VNUK or something like that.
Well, put it this way: if you were Vladimir Putin, you would be rather foolish to have your own population using Facebook, wouldn't you? Or if you were, Ping or whatever he's called in China, I, that makes no sense at all. I mean, you'd have to be an absolute fucking idiot. I mean, we're idiotic enough that we use it, and we're citizens of, what supposedly aligned states to the Washington Consensus. But it really is about the most stupid thing we can do as human beings. I admit I do it too, but it's really dumb. We're all really dumb for using it. We should have sought out better alternatives by now. Same with Gmail, which I use. You know, if you know about as much about those things as you and I should, and perhaps do, and yet we still use them, that makes us incredibly lazy and very, very dumb.
Oh no.
So there you have it.
Right.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure if I've been told off there, but
No, I'm
yes.
joking. I think that's called banter. It's not telling off.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like,
Now I'm just wondering. So if at this stage, given that this is the first live stream, what do I have to do in OBS to get some sort of a screenshot? I'll just go and get my phone. Here it is. I'll plug it in. See if I can get a screenshot coming up. Hold on. So you're basically telling me your average Russian is not going to be able to watch this.
well, no, well, they could get a VPN as much as anybody else. Um, so, and there are lots of very techie people in Russia that are quite, it's you use exactly the same stuff in Russia as you use here if you want to you can use a Tor browser in Russia just as well as you can here. And you can actually use Foxy Proxy, which is the tunneling app in McAfee here. Also, I mean, they have Kaspersky software over there, which is one of the best antivirus softwares. So, I mean, so yes, of course, an ordinary Russian could do it if they knew, if they had a techie friend, no problem whatsoever. I mean, basically everybody's only about 1, at most 2 degrees of separation from complete and utter internet freedom. You know, that all you need is a friendly techie, and they'll make sure you're good to go.
Yeah. Right. So let's have a look here. I'm doing window capture now. Does that give me? No, I'm not going to bother with this one. There was one of these OBS things that had where I could just go straight into the iPad or the. I'm trying to get us an article that we can both look at. I'll have to give you screen share as well, of course. Okay, so display capture. No. Actual browser. Image. Media source. Maybe it's NDI source again, a different one. I'll do NDI source 2 because I've got you on NDI source 1. And now. No, it's just a bunch of Skypes. So I'll get rid of that. Scene text. Window capture. Window capture? Did I What do you think about Putin shaking hands with the man from North Korea? Did you see that?
I didn't even bother watching the report, but you know, is it even news? I mean, North Korea has a border with Russia. You know, it's northern borders with. I mean, that's what the was it the 48th parallel is all about. North Korea, South Korea, the Korean War. You know, my generation, there was a TV comedy show called MASH, which I think was made into a film, wasn't it? At the time, but there's been a remake of MASH, I think. Alan Alda and Hot Lips, what she was called. So, no, I'm not. Uh, there's nothing surprising there at all. I mean, you know, if you were the North Korean guy and if you were Putin, you'd make damn well sure you were talking to each other.
Fair enough. Yeah.
You know, what's the you know, it's crazy. I think it's also very sensible that Donald Trump is trying to strike up a relationship with the guy as well. I mean, you know. Um,
Oh, what do you think of so the people at Byline? There's a guy there who writes for them called Mike Stoochbury, I think, and he's the one whose address was given out by Tommy Robinson. And I think Tommy Robinson was saying, "Look, I'm coming round yours. I'm coming round yours."
oh, him. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And what did he say?
Well, that guy sent out a message yesterday saying, if Tommy Robinson runs for MEP, that means he'll have to publish his address. And so
Well,
I think
the point.
I don't think he was encouraging people to go round there. But
The point is, Tommy Robinson has said publicly he doesn't live with his family. He actually sleeps and lives at a separate address for their safety because of people like this Stutsbury chap who is desperately trying to get him murdered. And his family.
isn't it the other way round? I thought Stutsbury was
No,
sending
it's
people
not the
round.
other way around.
Sorry, I thought people were going round to Stutsbury's house.
Tommy Robinson went round there and knocked on the window. And he also doorstepped a firm of solicitors that were involved in the same thing. But what's happening is uh, the fake left, so-called um, press and activists, hope not hate, and all of those people. Okay, um, basically are doing the dirty work of Special Branch and MI5 and Theresa May and you know who's the Home Secretary at the moment. I mean, you know, for goodness sake, I mean, there's been so many. Um, so it's Amber Rudd, isn't it? Isn't she the Home Secretary at the moment? Oh,
Sajid Javid.
is it Javid? Is it okay? Right. So him, um, and they have. It's called doxing, I believe, is the term people use on the web. You know, doxing people, which is basically trying to get a mob to go and do physical harm to them and their nearest and dearest.
But I think you're being naive in the extreme if you're saying that Robinson doesn't engage in that.
Actually, I'm not being naive, and I've actually had taking the simple expedience of checking the facts. And if you check the facts, you'll find that Robinson is actually not a hypocrite, but these other people are.
Well, I mean that's completely for me to say he is.
You're also capable of checking the facts, and if you do, you will find that your perception of reality is 180 degrees reverse from what the actual truth is.
Hold on.
I'm telling you that
Hold on.
you have you haven't checked yet. Go away and check, and then let's have the conversation because you haven't checked, and I have. So go away and check, and then let's have this conversation.
Roger, right? You're my mate, yeah. So
Yeah.
obviously obviously no one's on trial here, right? So it's just a bit of fun. It's a bit of chat.
Mm.
But you said that Tommy Robinson. I'm not sure if he used the word percent preceded by the word 100, but I think I heard something like not hypocrite in relation to Tommy
I,
Robinson.
I
That's
don't
very
believe he is.
difficult. That's very difficult to not be a hypocrite.
Well,
I think you've got
I,
to
I,
be a bit more fair on him, and instead of setting him such a high bar of simply not
it's not.
hypocrite,
It's not setting a high bar for him. Okay,
you just said
it's
he was not
just
a hypocrite.
it's what I'm pointing out is that this journalist that you quoted, okay, uh,
Sorry.
the journalist that you quoted can't get under even a very high bar, or he can't, or a very low bar. Are we are we limboing or are we jumping? Are we jumping over or are we limboing under? Let's have a look. I think we should be limboing under, and let's get down with the slithery lot because there's a lot of forked tongue goes on with the guy that you just said. So, oh, if he's an MEP, he has to publish his address, and I just pointed out to you that Tommy Robinson doesn't live with his family because he can't, because they have been endangered by the doxing, by those sorts of people. And that is not something which Tommy Robinson indulges or has indulged in. It just, and there's no evidence to support any allegation that he has done. None, zero, zilch. But on the part of these other people, there is lots of evidence. Go and check.
Fair enough. I have not checked.
And the point is, I mean, Tommy Robinson has appeared in court many times, on these trumped up charges and whatnot. Well, when you appear in court, you have to give your address, your fixed abode, okay?
But don't you think that he is basically?
So the address you put is where you're registered to vote, wherever you're on the electoral register, and I mean the man is not an idiot. He will be registered to vote and is living at another address away from where his family is, so that they're not put in danger because of this sort of thing.
But do you really think that he is some kind of sort of justice-seeking freedom fighter, full stop,
Uh,
in this
no, he's
regard?
not a freedom. He's not a
Because
freedom
you're always
fighter
talking
because
him up. The fact that
freedom fighters usually indulge in some sort of violent terrorism. And he doesn't advocate for violent terrorism. He doesn't. What he is, okay, he's a person that has a set of political views which don't coincide with my own, but in whose right to express those, free of interference and violence from the state, I completely and utterly support. And he makes points that he makes very, very well, and the points on which he is within his sort of bounds of expertise, if you like, he is usually correct. So, he is correct about a lot of what he says. It's very troubling about some of the stuff he says upon which he's mistaken. Okay. And there is some,
like what?
like for instance, he equates the whole of Islam with violence and various cultural practices, which do exist, but are not ubiquitous to the religion. So,
Yeah, so that's what I've got a problem with, because then suddenly the it's all very good being exactly right, but then when you start softening up and getting a bit vague, and then afterwards putting the finger all over the place. Because Roger, listen, hold on a second.
what do you think
Roger,
causes that, though?
no, but hold on, listen. Let me just say this. I have to say to you that that's not something that you generally do. You're not particularly into getting it wrong and not caring. And yeah, that's a good point. I think you just said what's called him all about. And
No.
what did he say?
What I said is, what do you think causes um, people who have a single issue which they're trying to get redressed and then that isn't redressed? Okay. If the people that don't want to address it, what is the best tactic for them to do to distract from or to divert that person away from the. It's a standard a standard logical fallacy in argumentation. One of the things that you do is you deflect and you conflate a whole bunch of other stuff. So you lead people up the garden path, and then you'll turn around and say, oh, well, you didn't respond to that, therefore, silence is acquiescence. You must therefore agree with that, or you must, believe this. And that is the sort of dishonest discourse that goes on in the mainstream media now. Tommy Robinson, Stephen the Accident, call him what you will, has been a victim of that. Now, his documentary, Pandorama, shows it absolutely in action with John Sweeney, and John Sweeney trying to entrap Robinson and trying to get people to give malicious evidence against him. They tried to sort of they tried to do the Me Too stuff on him. They've tried various things, but Panorama. Have you watched Pandorama, the Tommy Robinson documentary? No, Pandorama. Panorama were trying to do a sting on Tommy Robinson, and he did secret filming at the time that they were doing it, and he exposed John Sweeney for the hypocrite that he is. Right? So, you haven't watched the Tommy Robinson documentary Pandorama? You haven't seen it? Because you should watch it if you haven't. It's well worth watching. It's a very interesting piece of undercover journalism. You'll find it on BitChute now. You won't find it on YouTube because Tommy Robinson has been banned from YouTube, and there have been no copyright strikes, no breaches of any rules. He's just been banned at the request of Thompson. Okay. Now the other thing that's happened is Press TV have been taken off YouTube at the moment, and so what's actually a very, very real and present danger at the moment is some sort of false flag or military strike on Iran. That is very, very close. Press TV have been taken off YouTube. There's been all the usual sort of distractions that you see before such an event, I think we should look very, very closely at Syria, Iran, and Ukraine at the moment for the next flare up in that that imperial episode, because it's about US and EU imperialism down there at the moment. So, and the interesting thing about